Hi, boys and girls. I am so excited to tell you that we are on our very last Wit and Wisdom lesson for first grade. I loved reading your responses for the Socratic seminar yesterday, and I can tell that you did a ton of learning through this whole module, both in the classroom and through these videos, and you learned a lot about the powerful force of the wind. Yesterday you had the chance to answer this question: how do people respond to the powerful force of the wind? You used evidence from the text that we read in the modules, and you were able to prove how people responded to the powerful force of the wind. Today we're going to look at some ways that the wind acts differently. And to do so, we are going to go back to the very beginning of Module 3. If you remember, in the very first lesson, we read a poem. The poem is titled "The Wind" by James Reeves. What we did when we listened to this poem was your teacher had you think about the different ways that the wind could move powerfully or maybe more gentle. So I want you to listen to this poem again today. And hopefully this poem means a little bit different to you now than it did then, because of all the learning you've done and all the different experiences you've had through the text that you've read in this module. Listen as I read this poem aloud. I can get through a doorway without any key and strip the leaves from the great oak tree. I can drive storm clouds and shake tall towers, or steal through a garden and not wake the flowers. Seas I can move and ships I can sink. I can carry a housetop or the scent of a pink. When I am angry, I can rave and riot. And when I am spent, I lie quiet as quiet. Now, the activity that we did with this poem was you looked for verbs in the poem, we acted out some of those verbs, and then we put them on a shades of meaning chart to look at ways the wind acted really strong and ways that the wind acted more gently. Now, we're going to revisit those words, and then we're going to use that same activity to look at some more describing words about the wind. So here is a list of the action words that you heard in that poem. Hopefully you remember these: strip, when the wind stripped the leaves; drive, shake; steal, rave; lie, and move. And all of these are different ways to say move. Remember, authors use words with different levels of power to help your mind visualize what is happening at that point in the text. These shades of meaning, or these different verbs, show how strong or powerful the wind might be. If the wind stripped leaves from a tree, it would be powerful. Remember when we read that poem, we acted out the wind raving really wildly. And then we also looked at the wind lying quietly, not being strong at all. If I connect these verbs to some of the texts that we read in the module, I think definitely with Brave Irene, the wind would be raving and stripping the leaves and driving her backwards. Think about the work you did with the hurricane text and website. Think about how the wind would drive the storm, and think about how the wind would shake leaves from the trees. However, I also think about Gilberto when the wind was just moving and it was more playful. or when the wind was lying still. So like I said, hopefully this poem, these words here, have a little bit more meaning to you now that you've had more experience reading the text about the wind. Moving beyond that today, we're going to use some adjectives, sensory or feelings words to describe the wind. So we can use different shades of meaning to describe the wind. We looked at verbs of how the wind moves. So today we're going to describe the wind, looking at how the wind can be strong or gentle. So I want you to think about that word, gentle. What are some things that are gentle? I think of something like you would have to treat babies gently. Babies are gentle. Or I would think warm water is gentle. I think of soft and soothing. That describes gentle to me. So let's look at the other side of that. What are some things that are strong? I think of a thunderstorm is really strong. If I think of something else that's strong, I might say a lion is strong. So hopefully you can see the big difference between those two adjectives. Gentle, think of warm water, babies, and strong, a really severe thunderstorm or a lion. So we're going to put some words of how the wind acts on a line. And this line is like your shades of meaning chart, but instead of having it with the different colors, we're going to place the words along this line to see where they would fall if we think of them as something that is gentle or something that is strong. And as we do this, this helps us recognize the different forces of the wind. So I created this line here. I'm going to take gentle. I'm going to put it at one end. I'm going to take this word strong and I'm going to put it at the other end. Let's look at the words that we have here to place on the line. We have the word floats. We have the word grabs, shakes, carries, pulls. Ooh, can't seem to pull that word over. Pulls, jerks, and breaks. Now, our job and your job when you do your activity is going to be to place these words along the line. I'm going to start with this word. I think of the word floats as something very gentle. I think of clouds floating. I think of like a rubber duck floating in the bath. It's just moving along without much force behind it. And the word I think is the complete opposite of that word is this word, breaks. If something breaks, that's because something really strong has come up against it. If you break a bone or you break a toy, something really strong has to happen to it. Let's look at our other words. We have grabs, shakes, carries, pulls, and jerks. If I'm starting at my gentle side, I'm going to take this word pulls and I'm going to put it over here next to float because I think if I kind of think of my life and I think, so I want to open the door, I pull on the door, I'm not jerking it, I'm not grabbing it. Certainly not breaking it. I'm putting my hand on it and I'm moving it. So I'm going to pull it. Opposite of that, I'm going to put the word jerk. If you're jerking something, you're moving it in a very quick, forceful way. For your activity, you need to put these words in order from gentle to strong. We've done a few of them. I want you to put the other words where you feel like they would fall on our word line. Now, with this type of activity, there's no exact right answer. If you think you can explain, just like in class, why you would put a word where you put it, then I think that shows great learning. So I want you to think when you sort your words where they would fall from gentle to strong. Before we finish today, I wanted to have the chance to show you some paintings. We have not had any time to look at the artwork in Module 3. So today I wanted to show you some Piet Mondrian paintings. Piet Mondrian was a Dutch artist who painted scenes of the landscapes that he saw. And I wanted to share a few of those with you. So like I said, Piet Mondrian was a Dutch painter in the early 1900s. He painted a lot of images and paintings of windmills. I know we're familiar with the windmills from reading The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. So I wanted to take this chance to show you some images or some paintings of what windmills would look like in his country. This is called the Red Mill. Here's another painting. This one shows an entire landscape, and you can see the large windmill. Here's a third Piet Mondrian painting of a windmill. This landscape to me looks like there's a storm coming maybe. I noticed some dark clouds above it. So I wanted to share those with you today so you could get a glimpse into the artwork for Module 3. What you need to do next is you need to sort those shades of meaning words into a word line from gentle to strong.